Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and our fifth grade students. Welcome to Rosa International Middle School's fifth grade information night. I'm George Guy. I am the principal, and I am your host for this evening. Let's get started. First of all, I'd like to introduce our administration and our office staff. In addition to myself, we have our interim assistant principal who's in charge of grade 7, Allison McCartney. We have our assistant principal, Dr. Albert Morales, who's in charge of grade 8, and our two main office secretaries, Barbara Caruso and Tracy Lackey, and Mrs. Lackey is on with us this evening. And then our guidance child study team secretary is Emily Oliveris, and any one of us would be happy to answer any questions or respond to any emails after this fifth grade information night if we haven't covered information. So a good beginning is to talk about open enrollment. And if you'd like to submit an application for open enrollment, we do not call the open enrollment process the lottery process. I know that has become a popularized term, but lottery implies both winners and losers. And none of our students that will go into Rosa, Beck, or Carusi are winners or losers. So we have an open enrollment or selection process. Those applications will be accepted starting on February the 14th through February the 25th at 11 p.m. All of this information will be found online, and it will be in the Genesis parent portal. This Google slide deck is actually available to you on our homepage, and it has this hyperlink with the middle school open enrollment process that was sent out by Miss Bonnie Mengen, who is one of our special services or pupil personnel supervisors in charge of the open enrollment process. So you can go back and look at that letter. And if you have any questions about the open enrollment selection process, Bonnie Mengen's contact information is here. Please contact her before you contact Rosa, before you talk with your building principal, or if you are not in Cherry Hill Public Schools, but you are a parent or guardian of a fifth grader coming to us from one of our independent schools, always best to make sure that you reach out to Bonnie Mengen before you reach out to us to answer any questions. You know, there's a lot of concern and anxiety and even trepidation in the collective Cherry Hill Public Schools community as it relates to parent or guardians of fifth graders and fifth graders themselves as it relates to middle school redistricting. For those of you who don't know, there was a presentation that I was a part of in December around middle school redistricting. And in talking with Dr. Malash, we know that the Board of Education is committed to deciding on some answers regarding middle school redistricting prior to February 25th. In fact, there is a board meeting tomorrow at 6:30 in person in the Malberg Gymnasium, or you can go to the district website and get the hyperlink so that you can log in via Zoom. And the board will be talking about middle school redistricting tomorrow, February the 8th. So we know that the board takes middle school redistricting and Rosa's open enrollment very seriously. So that decision will be made prior to February the 25th so that families can have the needed time that they will have to weigh an open enrollment or selection process decision for Rosa. So we're very excited because Rosa International Middle School has a number of student leadership groups. And one of our most profound student leadership groups that we always spotlight in our fifth grade information nights are our Rosa Student Council. We have student council representatives from the 6th grade, from the 7th grade, and from the 8th grade. And we always showcase our current student council president, and that is Tessa Kipnis. But before we get to Tessa's short video, I want to recognize the student council members or advisors who have done incredible work since I've been at Rosa for my 8 years. Mrs. Jennifer Aristone, who is one of our 8th grade language and literature teachers, and Mrs. Teresa Convery, who is one of our approaches to learning special education teachers. They do a phenomenal job. And without further ado, I'm going to let Tessa talk to you briefly about her experience. Certainly, if you are unable to capture everything that Tessa says, you can go to our Google slide deck on our website and you can rewatch Tessa's presentation. It's only about 1 minute and 34 seconds. So without further ado, we're going to hear from 8th grade Student Council President, Tessa Kipnis.
Rosa really is a very special place. One of my favorite things about Rosa is that you are able to make new friends with kids all over Cherry Hill and from all the different elementary schools. Additionally, there are so many different fun clubs and sports that are super easy to get involved with. Playing a sport or joining clubs in 6th grade is a great way to make new friends and get to know the people that aren't in your learning community or even your grade. I got involved with the student council in 6th grade, and I highly suggest trying it out because it's really cool to see how all the spirit days and fun things you do at Rosa are planned out. Every couple of months, peer leaders or student council plans a fun spirit day, such as Color Wars or even Pajama Day. Most of these spirit days also double as a fundraiser for charity. You bring in $1 and we donate to places like the food banks and the Ronald McDonald House. Some of my best memories from Rosa are from 6th grade. Staying after school to watch soccer games, going to arts and crafts club with my friends, and getting to learn in new and exciting ways. Your 6th grade year is all about finding your family at Rosa. I suggest not limiting yourself to only the things you do now, but to branch out and try lots of new things. It can be hard sometimes, but trying new things in a judgment-free zone like Rosa is really awesome. Rosa has many amazing characteristics, but I chose Rosa because of all the amazing kids. When I went to my open house in 5th grade, I remember being so impressed with all the different things that you can do and how welcoming everyone was. There really is something for everyone. I hope that you make the decision to come to Rosa, and I know that you will have an amazing experience.
Thank you so much, Tessa. Wonderful work in giving us a glimpse from the student perspective of what the experience has been for Tessa here. And that's what Rosa really is about: student voice, student perspective, making sure that students feel like they have agency and feeling empowered to do a number of different things. And we hope that we can highlight that for you this evening. So we have all of the sports. All 3 of our middle schools, Rosa, Beck, and Carusi, have all the same sports. There are no different sports, just different facilities at every school. So for fall, we have cross country and girls, boys, soccer, and field hockey. Now, cross country, unless we get over 75 students, is not a cut sport. But girls soccer and boys soccer are cut sports, and field hockey are cut sports. In all of those, except for cross country, we have something called A and B teams, right? So there are opportunities for, if you don't make the A team, which is typically for our 7th and our 8th graders, you can make the B team in girls soccer, boys soccer, and field hockey. In winter sports, we have girls and boys basketball, which are 2 cut sports. They have A and B teams. We have bowling, which is a first come, first serve. And we actually always have people on our waiting list because bowling is so popular. Cheerleading can be a cut sport if we go over 25 cheerleaders, and we generally do not go over wrestling. So you see our cross country and wrestling are mentioned here. Or have pictures here. And in the spring, we have girls softball. We can have an A and a B team. We generally just have an A team. That can be a cut sport, but because we haven't always had the participation that we've wanted in girls softball, it generally is not. Boys baseball is only for 7th and 8th graders because of some rules. So our 6th graders cannot play boys baseball. And spring track is just like cross country. If we get over 75 students, then it becomes a cut sport. So you see the pictures for cross country, for wrestling, and Miss Pinnock's wonderful canine friend who is representing all of our sports here at Rosa. If you have any questions about our sports, you can contact our athletic director, Mr. Christopher Del Rossi, and his email information is listed below. So Rosa has over 20 different clubs and activities. I'm going to open those up for us to be able to look at. This is our website, and here is the hyperlink for all of our different clubs and activities. Let me just make those a little bit larger. So you see there is something for students to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and even Friday. You'll notice that I, shameless plug, have a club here for Math Counts, which is a competitive math club, but we have a number of different clubs, and we're always trying to add more clubs. If you as a incoming sixth grader can get 4 students and an adult advisor, you can come see Miss McCartney and she can talk to you about how we can start those clubs. So there is Miss McCartney's contact information, but we believe that when students get involved in clubs and activities, it links them to the Rosa culture. It gives them an opportunity to understand the diversity that we have within the Rosa community, and it allows them to explore different avenues that they may not be familiar with. Like one of our newer clubs, the American Sign Language Club, is giving students the opportunity to participate in American Sign Language, and then we do service learning around what they've learned in American Sign Language so that we can put that sign language to use. That's just one example of opportunities for students to get involved in grades 6, 7, and 8 in our clubs and activities. So Miss Mooney does an incredible job with nursing here at Rosa. So she has her Bitmoji avatar that really is honing in on the 2 most important things for 5th graders. And this is really for your parent or guardians. So the Tdap meningococcal vaccine is required for all 6th grade students. And this applies to students when they turn 11 years of age and are entering 6th grade. So proof that that vaccine will be given will be required by Monday, August the 15th. And every year, Ms. Mooney talks to me and I have to talk to parent or guardians who haven't gotten that vaccine in by this date. So please, please, we ask that you get your child vaccinated at the pediatrician with that particular Tdap and meningococcal vaccine that is required for 6th grade. I'm stumbling over that term. Sports physicals are always something that is important, even if your child is not going to play a fall sport, but they're going to come out for a winter or spring sport. It is incumbent upon you to go to your child's healthcare provider and arrange your physical. Forms are due no later than Monday, August the 15th. We'll talk a great deal more about that at our fall sports meeting about the sports physical requirements. Ms. Mooney will go over the specificity of this physical and all the different required forms that need to be signed. So this is, I took you to our website for our clubs and activities. They're under quick links. You'll see the nurse's homepage, a wealth of knowledge that Ms. Mooney has that you can check out now. And if in doubt, you can always email Ms. Mooney, and she promises, unless it's a weekend and unless it's COVID related, that she will get back in contact with you within 24 hours. So I want to introduce our guidance staff. We actually have Mrs. Alonzo with us this evening. She is going to be the incoming 6th grade guidance counselor, and there's a hyperlink for her email. New to Our incoming fifth graders, they've never had a student assistance counselor at the elementary level here at any one of our 12 elementary schools. But Ms. Gina DeMonte is a student assistance counselor. She actually is also a certified counselor, and she does some different things than our counselors as it relates to being our anti-bullying specialist, helping with our anti-bullying lessons. She's in charge of our social emotional learning Google Classroom and helps us devise lessons around social emotional learning for our 49-minute advisory period. And she does so much more. So I wanted to just make sure that you knew who these two people were. And then because we have robust programs for students with individual education plans, we have Ms. Carolyn Grace is our incoming sixth grade child study team member, and this is her email address. I would ask you if you're at any one of our 12 schools, or if you are coming to us from one of our independent or private schools, please check first with your school's case manager about programming at Rosa as it relates, because all three of our schools have different programs. So you want to check with your case manager. You are going to have a conversation at your annual review, and Ms. Grace may be there at your annual review if your program is suitable for Rosa. So you may get a chance to meet her there. But before you reach out to Ms. Grace, always check with your child's case manager at the school in which you're at. And then if you still have a question, you can certainly reach out to Ms. Grace. We have robust related service providers that support our students with individual education plans. So we have a certified occupational therapist assistant, Ms. Marianne Salvitti, and this is her contact information. We also have speech only, a speech therapist, Ms. Haley Varillo, or Mrs. Varillo, who is in charge for speech only students. And we have a lot of speech only students. And Mrs. Varillo does a great job with pull-out instruction, push-in instruction, co-teaching with our language and literature teachers. So she's phenomenal, and this is her Bitmoji and her Bitmoji classroom. We are, so the nexus of Rosa, or one of the nexus foundations for Rosa, is our media center, which is right across from our main office. And we are proud of our media center. Mrs. Silverstein does a great job with wonderful things with our media center. So we have our own broadcast television. It's called Rosa TV, where you see it at one of our bullets. Mrs. Silverstein hosts library ambassadors, project literature, and creative collectives, and they have their own, I think I don't see that in there, but they do have a magazine in which they help print. So that is phenomenal. And Mrs. Silverstein in the picture, in our last picture, has a portion of the stacks, but off to your right where all the plants are is our new mindfulness space, in which we got a grant for, and just phenomenal work. And some of our parents have donated some plants. So that space is being used for mindfulness work for students and staff alike. And then we have a wonderful partnership with the Cherry Hill Public Library, in which virtually, since the pandemic, we've had our young adult librarians come in and talk to us about their favorite library books and how our students can get digital or hard copies of those library books. So we do a great deal of work in our media center at the middle level. We also have a very rich music program. So I'm going to introduce the program, and then there are a number of slides that go with these programs. I encourage you to go through all the slides and look through all of the messages, because we just don't have time to go through each one, because we have a lot of rich offerings. And as fifth graders, you should be participating in choral music or hopefully instrumental music. And we want that to extend and expand here at Rosa International Middle School. So each one of your marking periods, you will have an opportunity out of one of those 4 marking periods to take what's called general music with Mr. Jack Murtha. So he is one of our music teachers. Our more specialized instrumental music, so that can be orchestra, that can be band, that can be jazz band, that can be instrumental music lessons that puts you in a band, like you see our woodwinds and our band in this particular picture, not ours, but this is a stock photo that I took from somewhere. But Miss Susan Mark, Mrs. Mark does an incredible job with our instrumental music. And then we have Francesca Seacrest, who comes over from Carusi on Fridays and helps with our string ensemble. So that is phenomenal. And we have a rich vocal music program with Mr. Scott Grazer. And we have Rosettes and Close Harmony, which are male and female groups, along with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade chorus. So let's talk a little bit more about some of these programs. So Mr. Murtha's class is an exploratory class or a special area class. You take it once per marking period, or one time out of the 4 marking periods. And I'll talk a little bit more about our exploratory classes on another slide. And then Mr. Murtha does so much outside of giving keyboards to 6th graders. That's what you would be engaged with in your exploratory class. But he has an orph ensemble, a puppet club, a rock band called the Zesty Pickles, where you can actually eat pickles. It is incredible, and they are zesty. A drama club and drama crew. I encourage you to go over these hyperlinks with the puppet club and Zesty Pickles and orph ensemble so that you can get a kind of a flavor of those after school music offerings. These are extensions of our clubs and activities that we mentioned earlier. When we talk about instrumental music, we talk about the performing ensembles. So you've got 6th, 7th, and 8th grade band, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade orchestra, jazz band, string ensemble. And listen, even if you didn't take instrumental music in your elementary career, you can start here. We can get you an instrument. You can start working with Mrs. Mark, and I guarantee in 3 years, you will be on your way and hopefully continue at High School East or West or Points Beyond with your musical career. This is our December 13, 2021 winter concert. It's about an hour, so I'm certainly not going to click on that at this time. And then this is chorus. There's a picture of our 2019 winter concert that we actually had here at Rosa. And there are just some brief public service messages. Here's our 2020 virtual concert. We unfortunately had to have that virtually. And then there's a video message from Mr. Grazer. All right. So we want you to know that we have ESL programming at Rosa, Beck, and Carusi, and that we celebrate language diversity with our over 400 multilingual students. Our Rosa's growing English as a second language population receives ESL instruction from Mrs. Jennifer Green every day. Mrs. Green has a pull-out program. She has a push-in program. And there are, eligibility is based on the results of the state-approved English language placement test. So we want to make sure that you understand that that programming is here at Rosa, it's here at Carusi, it's here at Beck. As we look at the richness of our academics, we have the exact same programs that Beck and Carusi have. The names of them, because we're International Baccalaureate middle year program, is a little bit different. We have what we call a learning community structure. So at Beck, they have teams, and at Carusi, they have houses. We have learning communities. At Beck and Carusi, they have 9 teams or 9 houses. At Rosa, we only have 7 learning communities because we only have 782 students, and Beck has 900 students, and Carusi has over 1,000 students. So we are the smallest middle school. Our core subjects are world language, science, English language arts, math, and humanities. And the students will go to physical education one day, and then they'll go to an exploratory class the other day. So I mentioned one of your exploratories is music. Another exploratory is art with Ms. McNabb. Another exploratory is technology with Mr. Feely. And our last exploratory is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics with Dr. Matthew Cieslik, which is absolutely incredible. We also have an advisory period, and within that advisory period, we have extra help sessions for math. We have social emotional learning lessons. We have opportunities for instrumental music and for choral music. We have opportunities for support with locker clean out, executive functioning, and all kinds of different incredible, exciting things once a year or once a month, or actually we've only been doing it once a quarter. We delve into character education, and we extend the advisory period for an hour and a half, and we may see a video. Like a couple months ago, we saw Wreck-It Ralph, and we had questions around that dealt with character education in that particular video. So character education infused within social emotional learning is absolutely necessary here at Rosa. We are actually proud to say that this past week, Rosa is one of 7 schools in Camden County that was awarded the Camden County Character Education Award that will run from 2022 to 2024. And it was a part of the character work that our student council has done. So Mrs. Aristone and Mrs. Convery and Miss McCartney are actually going to go over to Camden County Technical High School and receive their banners and their awards and bring those back to Rosa. So we'll have those up the week of February the 21st. So we're excited about that. We also have an International Baccalaureate program, a middle years program that I just referred to. And within that middle years program, all of the courses are the exact same as they are at Beck and Carusi. We just named some of them very different. So English language arts is language and literature, individuals and societies is humanities, mathematics is actually mathematics. Design is actually technology. The arts includes music, but it also includes art, that visual art that we have with Mrs. McNabb. We have the sciences in grades 6, 7, and 8. We do have physical health and education, and language acquisition is our world language. So this is the first time that your students have been taking Spanish if they are part of our elementary schools, but now they'll have a choice between Spanish and French in language acquisition in grades 6, 7, and 8. So we are absolutely excited about using the middle years program as a frame for the New Jersey student learning standards. So we are steeped in action and service. We actually have a community project that our 8th graders were doing pre-pandemic, but we've put that on hold since we've been in the pandemic. We'll approach that later. And we approach the New Jersey student learning standards with approaches to learning. We look at global contexts and keywords and key concepts as we try to understand all of these different contents. So we actually have a learner profile that we want all of our students to engage in each of those different courses that I've described. So our students are inquirers, they're knowledgeable, they're thinkers, they're communicators, they're principled, they're open-minded, they're caring, they're risk takers, they're balanced, and they're reflective. And our teachers actually have to put this in their lesson plans / unit plans, and they have to highlight this in language and literature, in the sciences, in mathematics, in language acquisition, in all of these contents, so that learners understand how that content matches with their student action as a part of these learning attributes. So that is one unique thing that our sister schools of Beck and Carusi do not do. You know, there's been a lot of questions about our environmental education program, and because of the pandemic, we have we've been limited in what we can do with our environmental education program. In terms of our environmental education program pre-pandemic, that was a 4-day overnight excursion to Mount Misery, which is right off of 70 in Burlington County. Our teachers would go, I as an administrator would go and visit, our kids would have incredible environmental educational experiences from former Rosa teachers who were teaching, and our teachers as well, very much science related in terms of environmental science. But that has had to be put on hold because of the work that we have been doing, because of the inability for us to staff that excursion with nurses. We cannot do that work without nurses. And as you know, in addition to teacher shortages, we've had incredible amounts of nursing shortages. So if in the 22-23 school year, we can get the staff, we certainly will look at overnight experiences in Mount Misery. But if we cannot, we will try to scale back, as we are trying to scale back this spring 2022 to try and do a day experience. But even then, we are still hard pressed right now to try and find nurses to staff those day experiences. So stay tuned. Mount Misery hasn't gone anywhere. It's just been tabled due to some staffing concerns, and we hope to revisit it soon enough. We are excited to say that we have an incredible, vibrant, robust, active PTA, Parent-Teacher Association, in which I'm a part of, our teachers are a part of. Michelle Johnson is our PTA president this year. She'll be with us for 2 years. And we really want you to join the PTA. We know that you may still be involved with your younger children in those elementary PTAs. We promise we will make sure that your work and your participation in the PTA coincides with the work and participation that you will do within your younger children's elementary PTAs. But we certainly want you to be a part of the rich, robust fabric that makes Rosa's Parent-Teacher Association what it is. Rosa, in years past, I've been here 8 years. The gifts to school have always been phenomenal. Every year, the PTA commits to making sure that all of our students in grades 6, 7, and 8 get this wonderful agenda, which is ornate and gives them the opportunity to write down homework. So we always get support from our PTA, and we want you to be a part of that. We want you, as you're making a decision for open enrollment, to check us out. If you are an older person, because Twitter is really for older people, check us out on Twitter and see our activity. But if you are not an older person, you're a student, log into RIM's activities and check us out and follow us. And you can check out all kinds of different things on the Rosa website, which is listed here and is hyperlinked within your Google Slides. So we are going to get ready to do a live Q&A. Actually, we are not going to take voice information in this live Q&A. We're just going to take things within the question and answer. I'm going to read some of those pieces, and then our team that is here, myself, Dr. Morales, Mrs. Alonzo, Ms. Grace, Mrs. Pennock, and Ms. Korf are also going to be behind the scenes reading and answering questions. But don't worry, because we do have a hard stop at 8 o'clock. If your question wasn't answered, we are going to capture all the questions and we're going to put out our own Q&A on our website. I'll let the elementary principals know when that Q&A is up and ready, and they'll share that with you. And you can come back to our website and see if your question was answered. And if you still had a question and need to contact us, you have our contact information. So before I stop sharing, I'm just going to go over the directions. Realistically, I actually shared with all the elementary principals a Google form for pre-submitted questions, and I have about 5. So I'm going to read those questions and answer those questions once I stop sharing. And then what we're going to do is you can click raise your hand. You're going to be called on. but not necessarily by phone. All of those things are going to go in the live Q&A, and we're going to answer questions for you. So before I stop sharing, and before we get into the live Q&A, I just want to wish you a fun and memorable rest of your 5th grade year. If you're at one of our 12 elementary schools, if you're at one of our independent or private schools, I wish you the same. I am going to stop sharing at this time, and I am going to start reading some of our questions, and then I'm going to answer some of those questions, and then we're going to get to the live Q&A, and we will start answering those questions. So we do have a question about, and maybe 2 questions about Rosa students. If you go into the open enrollment and the middle school configuration changes somehow, will they be grandfathered in? And I'm going to go back to what I stated earlier, because there are major concerns around parent or guardians making a decision right now with middle school redistricting hanging in the balance. I think you're going to, if you attend tomorrow's February 8th board meeting and subsequent, and stay informed about subsequent information, once a decision about middle school redistricting takes place, then you will better be in a position to make a decision about whether or not you're going to participate in open enrollment and the selection process here at Rosa. Another question is, should my daughter not be selected for Rosa and attends Carusi? Will she have to switch Rosa if splitting Barton plan goes through, which is one of the options that was suggested for middle school redistricting? I'm going to say the exact same thing, that stay tuned for middle school redistricting and what the board has to say about middle school redistricting. We do have a question about transportation and when that would arrive. I would ask you to give our transportation a call. They may be able to give you an estimation upon when there would be an arrival time. You can always call our transportation office, but you can always email Linda King, and that's lking@chclc.org for more information about transportation. They can give you an estimate about where pickup might be. So that's a great question. What are the sports programs like at Rosa? How do they compare with the other middle schools? And by the way, of what is offered for fall, winter, and spring, we offer the exact same sports that Beck and Carusi have. The only things that Beck and Carusi have that we don't have is they have a tennis court. Beck and Carusi have somewhat of a track, and we do not have that, but our students still do well in spring track and in cross country. So our facilities are a little bit different, but we still manage to compete and be competitive as it relates to sports in winter, fall, and spring. So I'm going to go to the Q&A. And when do you know the results? After you submit your application. So applications are going to be open in the Genesis Parent Portal starting February the 15th and close February the 25th. I believe in the letter that's on our Google Slides, Mrs. Mengen has given you an estimated time about when results are going to come out, but they are going to come out sometime after February the 25th. Hi, Mr. Guy, thanks for your amazing presentation. Oh, thank you. Would you mind please clarifying if Rosa has a robotics club? Yes, Rosa has had a robotics club. It has, Mr. George Zagrafos was our robotics club advisor, but since he has moved on to be the assistant principal over at High School East, we actually have Mr. Johnson, who is Mrs. Johnson's husband, who wants to come in and help with our robotics club. We're trying to get him cleared, and I'm trying to get an advisor so that we can restart robotics, but robotics wasn't in play last year, hasn't been in play this year. We're hoping for the 2022-2023 school year that we can get back to robotics. We've been in a number of competitions that we've hosted and that we've gone to other schools and hosted. Our High School East robotics team has helped us along with creating a robotics team at Carusi and at Beck. So it's not just at Rosa anymore. So thank you, Mila, for such a great question. And it's great to always hear from you, Mila Beaver. All right, do you have any special program for high level math for sixth graders? All of our sixth graders take a heterogeneous Eureka squared mathematics. However, we try to differentiate and try to enrich students within those mathematics programs to be able to give them the support that they need. Also, if your child is interested in expanding their understanding of sixth, seventh, and eighth grade mathematics in a competition format, they can certainly come hang out with me starting in October through January and do once a week math counts as another enrichment opportunity. What does Rosa have that the other schools do not? Well, we are a magnet school. We are the smallest school, so we're only 782 students. Because we are a magnet school and open enrollment school, we have the International Baccalaureate Middle Years program as our magnet, which allows us to see the essential curriculum that all three of the schools see through the eyes of the middle years program. There are some other structural pieces that we don't have. We don't have a stage like Beck and Carusi in terms of within their cafetoriums. So there are some facilities differences, but we still have a number of other things that make us comparable to the other schools. Are there intramural sports? You know what? We do try to play intramural basketball sports, and we had intramural volleyball, which was actually co-ed. We had a recent graduate from Beck and from High School East to come and work with both girls and boys for intramural volleyball this past fall. So we do have some intramural sports. What is the purpose of open enrollment? That's a great question. So literally every year, we can take about 250 students. On our third year, we can take about 300 students. The purpose of open enrollment is size. Rosa is really a school that once we get past 115 students, we've passed our capacity as it relates to enrollment. So open enrollment in the selection process allows us to stay somewhere between 782 to 795 students at any one given time so that we can comfortably have those students. And I will tell you, even with 782 students, our hallways are smaller than Beck and Carusi's. So it is still crowded. So the purpose of open enrollment in the magnet school status is to keep Rosa at the size of its capacity because if we were to take on over 815 students, we would be beyond our capacity and we wouldn't have a place to fit them. So how is COVID being handled? It's being handled the same way it's being handled at all three of the middle schools. We have mitigation strategies. We have social distancing. We have 7 lunches that we currently have in place. We have kids sitting opposite one another. We have outdoor seating for our lunch periods. Students are allowed to go outside and take mass breaks and snack breaks every day with each one of their learning communities. We mist with disinfectant high touch areas twice a day with our custodial staff. We now have a COVID isolation policy because we have new rules as it relates to COVID. Now kids can come back for days 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we have different policies for students and where they can eat because they can't eat with their normal cohort. And we are mitigating and supporting those students to make sure that they are safe. So COVID is being handled the same way it's being handled at Carusi, the same way it's being handled at Beck. And we're very proud of our health and safety protocols that we have in place. How do you make selections for the incoming 6th graders that apply to Rosa? How do you select those 250 students? That is a great question. Ms. Alonso is typing in that answer, but I encourage you to go back to the slide deck and speak with Mrs. Minjin, who's in charge of the selection process, who can kind of take you through how that selection process works. As the principal, I have never been a part of the selection process. Thank goodness. I am kept away from that. I am kept in the dark secretly because people always ask me about Mr. Guy, my child really wants to go to Rosa. How can you help me with the selection process? And I know nothing. I have no information that I can share with you about the selection process. I can tell you when the application opens, when it closes, where to find it, and how to find out information about the selection process. Select criteria for open enrollment and the application process. That's in the letter that is in our Google Slides, and you can find that information there. Are there placement tests before sixth grade to place students in different levels of math classes or other areas of learning? No, there are not placement tests. All students will come in and take a heterogeneous mathematics. Then they will be in heterogeneous classes for language and literature, language acquisition, science, and all of our other content areas. Everything is heterogeneous, and there is no testing for them to take in terms of placement exams. It's not clear to me what makes Rosa different than the other middle schools. Why do students need to be accepted? Is Rosa more that for the intellectually gifted? Not at all. Rosa is an open enrollment school simply because of what I said earlier, because of its size. And we created a magnet school in 1999 because we needed a third middle school. Beck and Carusi were tremendously overcrowded. We had 6 grades in our elementaries. We moved our 6 grades to our 2 middle schools, and we needed the overflow of students into a school that was somewhat in the middle of town. And we wanted to make sure, we knew that there were limitations on the facilities for Rosa. So we knew that we could only have 815 or less students come to Rosa. So hence in 1999, the idea was struck to make this a magnet school under the International Baccalaureate Middle Years Program and to use the open enrollment process so that anyone from any one of our 12 elementary schools would have the opportunity to come to Rosa. Is the band a traveling band? I see Ms. Pennock is answering that question, but our band has traveled to our elementary schools in the past pre-COVID. We have not gone to all 12 elementary schools, but we've selected some elementary schools. We've taken our just portions of our jazz band to kind of represent what Rosa has in store for music. Do you have a list of documents that might have to be submitted for open enrollment? I want to encourage you to go to our Google slide deck and take a look at the open enrollment application. And when the open enrollment opens next Monday, you will see that it literally is one page. It is very straightforward. It asks you some very straightforward information, but you don't need any special documentation to fill out open enrollment. But you do need to fill out open enrollment between February the 14th and 11 o'clock on February the 25th, because at 11:01, open enrollment applications within the Genesis Parent Portal will not be accepted. So if you miss that, that's going to be a problem. If you need a paper copy, go back to our Google slide deck and email Mrs. Mengen or contact her. You can contact her at the Malberg Administration Building, 856-429-5600, and she will make sure that she shows you how to get a hard copy of the open enrollment form. So this year it's lottery system, but for next year it's open enrollment with first come, first serve. No, it has never been lottery system. Remember I said that lottery system implies winners and losers. It's always been open enrollment, and it's going to continue to stay open enrollment for the 22-23 school year. And it is not necessarily first come, first serve basis. Anywhere between February 14th and February 25th, if you're filling out that open enrollment form and you fill it out at 10:59 on February the 25th, that doesn't mean that somehow you've moved to the back of the line as it relates to open enrollment status. But Mrs. Mengen can talk to you a little bit more about the selection process within the open enrollment status. What time can students be dropped off and picked up? So our students can be dropped off as early as 7:45. We do not encourage you to drop off students at Rosa prior to 7:45 because we do not have adult supervision for them. and they can be picked up at 3 p.m. We have a parent loop, and it is small, so we do kind of get backed up, but everyone is nice here at Rosa, so people are very safe, and you can still pick up at 3 o'clock. Will there be any chance to physically tour the building prior to open enrollment? Certainly, as we explore our health and safety protocols, we want to encourage you to reach out to Mrs. Natalie Alonso after this presentation, and we can follow up with you. Right now, we're not doing physical tours, but certainly there may be that opportunity in the future. So go back to the slide deck, shoot Mrs. Alonso an email, and she will give you a not yet, and she will give you some time. She'll take down your information and she will follow up. And we certainly will follow up with the elementary principals if there are opportunities for tours. How long are each of the periods? Right now, each of our periods are 50 minutes each with a 49-minute advisory period. And I know Mrs. Pinnock is going to follow up with some more information about that. When will I be able to find the result of the open enrollment? Sometime after February the 25th, after 11 p.m. I believe there was a timeline in March that Mrs. Minjan put in the application document, and I encourage you to go to that because I have not memorized that document as of yet. Will any consideration be given to take in more students that live closer to reduce change and impact the next year, meaning going to another school and then switching to Rosa after 1 year? So I want to reiterate what I've stated throughout this presentation, that I think that once the Board of Education, which has a meeting tomorrow, which makes a decision about middle school redistricting, once that decision comes out, I think that is going to help you make a decision about whether or not you think Rosa is the best fit for your child based on that middle school redistricting decision that the Board of Education comes up with. Where are the Google slide presentations? If you go to our website, you will be able to see right on the homepage, you'll see information that says 5th grade information night, click here. And below the information that is the Zoom information, you're going to see all the Google slides there. If you still are having problems with the Google slide presentation, feel free to email any of us or give us a call, and we will point you in the right direction to that Google slide. All right. We're still getting questions in. So for current 5th graders entering Rosa in the 2022-2023 school year, do we know yet whether they will be forced to switch to Beck or Carusi in the 2023-2024 school year if the redistricting option that requires students to go to their neighborhood schools is adopted? Do we have any sense of the IB curriculum will be preserved in the 2023-2024 and beyond? So right now, as I've stated earlier in my presentation, the Board of Education is committed to making a decision about middle school redistricting prior to the close of open enrollment, which is February the 25th. The board meets tomorrow, February the 8th, and this is a board agenda item. I encourage you to either go to the Malberg Administration Gymnasium tomorrow at 6:30 or tune in by Zoom. Because a decision may come as early as tomorrow. We don't know, but it will certainly be before February the 25th. Whether or not the International Baccalaureate curriculum is going to be preserved is something that we will find out about as we move forward within this process. But I can tell you this, the International Baccalaureate is being preserved for the 2022-2023 school year. What's your best recommendation to prepare our kids for 6th grade at Rosa? I'm going to let Mrs. Pinnock and Mrs. Korf jump on that and give you some rich answers. You certainly want to hear from the practitioners that are in the class that have been working with 6th graders for many, many years. So I will allow them to talk about the recommendations to prepare our kids for 6th graders. From an administrative standpoint, I will tell you that 6th graders are much more resilient than the parent and guardians of 6th graders. Do not worry about lockers. Do not worry about what they're going to need the first day. Do not worry about their schedules. Do not worry about, I think the one thing that is worrisome is our first 2 weeks are very hectic in all 19 of our buildings as it relates to busing and transportation. So do worry about busing and transportation. That is something that I would say you do need to worry about. But when they are here, we will make sure that they are taken care of, that they have the supplies that they need, that they understand their schedule, that they are fed, that we, if we are still in the pandemic in 2022, 2023, that we have proper mitigation strategies, that we are using their student voice, we're using their student gifts, we're using their talents, we are co-learning with them, we're learning as much from them as they're learning from us, that we are providing social emotional learning mixed with character education. Those are the things that I would say would help you prepare your sixth graders. And you're getting all of that at our 12 elementary schools. They are doing a phenomenal job transitioning our sixth graders into Rosa, Beck, and Carusi. So from an administrator standpoint, that is what I would say, but certainly I am curious to hear what Mrs. Pinnock or read what Mrs. Pinnock and what Mrs. Korf have said, and I will do that. Let me continue to go down because we only have about 4 more minutes. Do we have any other questions? I want to give it a moment. Let's give it wait time, right, Mrs. Pinnock and Mrs. Korf? All right, do we provide vegetarian foods? So certainly we do provide different options, and we do have vegetarian options. What I encourage you to do is to go to the district website at www.chclc.org, click on departments and go to the department that says Aramark Food Services. You'll be able to see our menus. You'll be able to email someone from Aramark to talk a great deal about what options you're looking for as it relates to vegetarian or vegan or other options that Aramark may be able to provide. So I think that is the best way to be able to answer that question. But certainly there are vegetarian foods, there are fruits and vegetables. They are actually necessary part of all of the lunches that we have been giving. According to the USDA, we have to be able to provide those. Our instrumental lessons mandatory, they are not. You sign up for instrumental music as a class, you get graded for it as a class, but I will tell you that because you're usually being pulled out of a class and you have about a 40-minute lesson, I will tell you, you need to take those instrumental music lessons seriously if you want to hone your craft as a future musician. Almost 70% of Rosa students in grades 6, 7, and 8 are either in choral music or instrumental music. So we take the arts and we take music very seriously. So if you sign up for instrumental music, we want you to be able to go to the class. If you're unsure about it and it's not for you, have a courageous conversation with Mrs. Mark. But we're going to ask you to try it for a marking period. Go to those classes, take your instrument home over the weekend, practice so that you can get well, because we're going to provide opportunities for you to showcase those skills. Do the kids select their instrument at the end of 5th grade? They don't necessarily have to. If they haven't selected an instrument at the end of 5th grade, they can come to Rosa next September or this September and have a conversation with Mrs. Mark during advisory, and we can work on an instrument for them here. They don't have to select it at the end of their 5th grade year in elementary. Do you have an art club or do you have anything to support advanced art kids? I'm going to let Mrs. Pinnock talk a little bit more about our clubs and activities. Let's see, do we have extracurricular activities mandatory? Mrs. Alonso is referring to that, but they are not mandatory. What time is the meeting tomorrow for the Board of Education? Board of Education meeting starts at 6:30 in the Malberg Gymnasium. If you're going in person, I would encourage you, if you want to tune in via Zoom, www.chclc, go to the Board of Education tab, and there is Zoom information that you'll be able to log in. You may be able to speak at both the public comment 1 or the public comment 2 if you have questions, especially about the middle school redistricting policy. So we are at 7:59. I'm going to take the last question When are the library hours open for sixth graders? They're open for all students, primarily during advisory. They can get a pass between 8 and 8:49 and go down and see Mrs. Silverstein or Mrs. Plezak. But there are also other opportunities for kids to come if they get a pass, if they work out some things with Mrs. Silverstein, to come to the media center. And that concludes our work with you this evening. Stay tuned. We are going to capture all of these questions and answers and put them in a frequently asked questions and answer portion on our website, and we'll send out information to the elementary principals of all 12 elementary schools when that information is posted. On behalf of all of our panelists and our wonderful technology supports, Mr. Povinsky and Mr. Holman, we wish you all an incredible end to your fifth grade years, and parent or guardians, we wish you all the best health and safety, and we will see you at some point in the near future. Take care.